I'm Neil McAvoy. I'm the Plaid Cymru Party of Wales Assembly candidate in Cardiff West. I'm also a county councillor in Fairwater.
Why would you say politics is important to teenagers in particular?
I think politics is important to everybody, and I think as you grow up, you start seeing the world, you start questioning things, and I know I did when I was younger. And I think politics is just a way of improving society. It's a way of changing things. And I see politics as a way of finding solutions to problems that we all face. So I think it's, particularly relevant when you're growing up, because you're seeing some things for the first time.
What can your party do for young people who are looking to go on to further education?
Well, I think the first thing we can do for young people is give young people the vote at 16. And what we think is that education is a right and not a privilege. So one of the policies is that if you go to study in England, for example, and you come back to Wales with a degree, therefore the skills that you have learned are going to be used in Wales for Welsh people or for people living in Wales. The Welsh economy will benefit, so what will happen then, for every year we'll write off a certain amount of your debt, up to £18,000.
Welsh Labour is holding the Cardiff West constituency currently and has done since the Assembly was formed in 1999. What do you bring to the table that will end this?
Change. We've had very lazy, I would say, very complacent Labour politicians who automatically think they're going to get elected, and that's changing now. We've got a very strong Party of Wales. We're in second place in the constituency, and we're looking forward to winning on May the 5th. But winning is just the first staging post, really, because what we want to do is offer a much better service for people. I'm saying that when I'm elected, I'll be holding advice surgeries all around the constituency in every area. I'll also be knocking on every single door over the 5 years, so I won't be sat down the bay every day in an office. On a Friday afternoon or a Friday, all day Friday, I'll be out knocking on doors, speaking to people. And I think it's important to be accountable as well. So I think what we'll offer is drive, commitment, and a much better work ethic than you have at the present.
So how will the results of this year's EU referendum affect teenagers living in Wales?
I think the EU referendum is going to affect everybody, really. Possibly if we vote to leave the EU, I think it'll be disastrous for us in Wales. I think it's completely contrary to the Welsh national interest to leave the European Union. We get billions of pounds from Europe, which we see in projects in Wales. But I think if you go back to the beginning of the European project in the mid to late 40s, 1950s, after the Second World War, the idea of the whole project was to make sure that countries like Germany, France were no longer in conflict. And I think it's very easy to forget that in Europe we have a history of war. France, Germany have a history of fighting for over 1,000 years. And now, because of the European Union, because of the integration, because things culturally and economically were so close, it's inconceivable for those countries to go to war now. And I think it's very dangerous to break up a European Union and forget about the reason that it was set up for in the first place. It was set up to preserve peace, and secondly then to develop things economically. If we go back, God, show my age now, if you go back 30 years, there were so many things you just couldn't buy in supermarkets. Probably when I was growing up, the most exotic thing that I could buy in a supermarket was a baguette. You just couldn't get other products, and I think it's we take for granted lots of the benefits that Europe has brought us. We can go and live and work anywhere in the European Union. We can go to a country and receive benefits. I think one thing which is being overlooked is re-immigration into the UK, because a lot of elderly people live abroad in the European Union. For example, in Spain, got roughly 1 million pensioners who are quite a drain on the Spanish NHS, if the truth be told. Well, if we leave the European Union, we're suddenly going to have all these people back in the UK. We're going to have to house them and provide health services as well, which are at breaking point already. So I think lots of things to think about with the referendum, and I hope that we stay in.
Okay, thank you. How do you feel Plaid Cymru, if they had the political floor to do so, could influence the young people of Wales?
I think what we can do is give people opportunity, because far too many young people, to earn a decent salary, to have a career, have to leave Wales, and that's wrong. What we want is I want people to grow up in Wales where they can have a good salary, they can have a really good professional job, where we have a thriving private sector, which we don't have at the minute. I think things can be so much better. We need to enable people at a young age to get on the housing ladder, for example, which is almost impossible at the minute with house prices and the deposits needed. For me, a Plaid Cymru government is all about enabling people to have a much better standard of living in Wales in a much cleaner, better environment. It's our policy locally to change the local development plan in Cardiff and all over Wales, really. These plans are going to bring environmental disaster, but whatever they're actually put in place.
We know that some people believe that the Welsh language isn't relevant in today's society. However, it is compulsory to do a GCSE in Welsh in school. Do you think the Welsh language needs more attention?
I do, yeah. I think several languages should be taught from the age of 3 onwards. I think what we should be doing is investing in nursery education and making it the norm for people to speak 4 languages. One of those would clearly be Welsh. Wales is a bilingual country, or should be a bilingual country. I think what is overlooked very often is the fact that bilingualism brings massive benefits to an individual in terms of physical development of the brain, for example. You're far better off learning 2 languages rather than just one. I think there is a misconception with Plaid Cymru that we're only a Welsh language party and therefore Welsh speakers only, and that is not the case. The Welsh language is very important to us. It's very important to me personally, especially having grown up and not spoke a word of Welsh until I was 32, which I think is wrong. I think it should be compulsory, but then so should other languages as well, in my opinion. I think, and then in the ideal world, when we get to the age of secondary school, we should be looking at doing something like Mandarin or Hindi or a different kind of language from an emerging economy in the world.
Thank you very much for coming in and giving up your time.
Thanks a lot. Great pleasure.
This is the Bishop of Llandaff School Report.